Eskom shuts down a load shedding solution, the change in the fuel price makes us think about alternatives, and Bud Light teaches us about advertising. My name is Shani Lachman. Welcome to my channel. Okay, so first up, there's an update on Mafube Municipality. Mafube Municipality, you might remember, is a municipality in the Free State, and they've been using a company called RFS to manage their electricity network. And what RFS has done is they've implemented this large solar installation. I think it's actually a couple of solar installations, comes to about 3.7 megawatts in total, I believe. And what they've done is, by using this solar installation, they've been able to reduce load shedding in that municipality. And basically, they've been given license by Eskom to self-load shed. So they were given power or control over the connection point of the municipality to the grid. They were given that license by Eskom to operate like that. And because they have that ability, they are able to self-load shed and then also not load shed in times when they have enough power from the installer installations to power the municipality. And they've actually been able to reduce the load shedding in the municipality by up to 15% during some weeks. And Eskom was not happy with this. They gave some reasons they were not happy with this, and they basically regained control of this connection point. And now RFS is in a position where they can no longer self-load shed, and as a result of that, they now have to load shed according to Eskom's schedule, and they can't use their solar installation to reduce load shedding. So Eskom's case is that the solar installation that RFS is using to reduce load shedding, Eskom's case is that this solar installation does not provide enough power to carry the entire municipality. They're saying that the solar installation is not providing enough power, and hence Eskom still has to provide power to the municipality to make up for that difference. And so the municipality is essentially not load shedding when they're supposed to, and this is putting the entire energy grid, entire electricity grid of the country at risk of a national blackout. So if this is true, then Eskom does have a case. But if you look at the court documents from this case, if you look at the court documents, you'll see that you can't conclude from the court documents that the municipality or RFS does not have enough power to carry the entire municipality. The parameters under which they would like to reduce load shedding does not cause an issue to the entire energy grid. So for example, they're saying that they want to not load shed when they have enough power, and they are happy to load shed according to Eskom's schedule when they don't have enough power. So it seems to be fine. It seems to be no technical issue there. But because of Eskom now regaining control, they're actually forced to stick to Eskom's schedule, and they have to also dump power even though they have enough power to carry the entire municipality. So they have this large solar installation, and a lot of the energy from the solar installation is going to waste because they have to stick to Eskom's load shedding schedule. So RFS actually took Eskom to court so that they can continue to do as was agreed upon and continue to reduce load shedding. And like I said, they do have a valid case. There are no technical reasons why Eskom should not allow them to do so. But the case was dismissed. And the case was dismissed not because of technical reasons, but because the municipality that RFS is doing this for, this municipality was not coming to the party. They were not giving their official input into the court case. And according to the courts, the municipality is the one that needs to present this case to the court. And as a result of this, RFS is not presenting the case. Municipality is not providing their input. And the case was then dismissed, not for technical reasons, but for this administrative reason with regards to the chain of command. And so, we don't know, the reasons aren't clear as to why the municipality is not providing their official input. But again, there's no technical reasons that Eskom should load shed them or should not allow them to do this. but nothing can be done unless the municipality comes to the party and makes this case themselves against Eskom. Okay, so moving on, I want to talk about the fuel price and renewable energy. So, with every announcement month to month of the fuel price, whether it's increasing or whether it's decreasing, as a country, we or many motorists tend to think about and tend to consider if there are any alternatives for us with regards to fuel. And this is because our petrol price, our fuel price is dependent on the oil price, and our fuel and our petrol is highly dependent on, or our fuel in the country is coming from imported oil. And so we, as a country, our fuel price is very volatile based on the global oil price. So, when it comes to this month to month announcement of what's going to happen with the oil price, we always think about, what are the alternatives? And in South Africa, with us having such a good renewable energy resource with so much wind and so much sun, the question is obviously, what can we do? Aren't there alternatives with regards to renewable energy? Now, when it comes to the vehicle industry, there are three possible solutions for us to kind of change course. The one is to move towards electric vehicles. The other is to move towards hydrogen fueled vehicles. And the third option is to use biofuels for fueling our vehicles. And each of these options have their own advantages and disadvantages. And right now, where we are, we're kind of in a position where until something gets done, until things move in a direction where either one of these are implemented, we're still kind of at the mercy of the fuel price. So let's look at each of these. Okay, firstly, there's biofuels. Now with biofuels, this one is sort of the quickest route to change. And the reason it's the quickest is because no change is required in the vehicles themselves. The biofuel can be made to be what we call drop-in, and you could even have a blending situation where, in the case of drop-in, this is just it's essentially the same as petrol, the same as diesel. You just pour it into you just pump it into your vehicle in the same way that you would have pumped diesel or petrol. And you could also have a blend, so where you mix petrol or diesel with this biofuel. But aside from the origin, essentially it's the same product. And we could use sunlight, the amazing sunlight that we have, to produce these energy crops. And there's a great advantage for South Africa to do this because we have so much sun available. And there are already companies that have implemented or are producing biofuels from energy crops and even waste oil from restaurants and so on. The drawback, though, is that drop-in biofuels for vehicles is not yet commercially viable to compete with normal fuel. And so we're not there yet where it's going to compete with the fuel price, and so we kind of have to wait until that happens. But even if it does happen, even if biofuels do become commercially viable, in South Africa we don't have enough land available to grow all the energy crops required to meet our country's fuel requirements, to meet our country's diesel and petrol requirements. There's just not enough land available. And if as a country we're still going to be pushing towards decarbonization, and if there's this competition between food versus fuel, then we're still going to be left with having to look for an alternative to petrol. So biofuels might, if we do go that direction, biofuels might be able to capture a chunk of the market, but there's just not enough land to fill all the tanks, all the cars. We'd still need to find an alternative. So it kind of makes it unsustainable in the long run. Then in the case of hydrogen, now hydrogen is an attractive option because it can be pumped. So similar to the way you pump fuel, you could pump hydrogen. Of course, there obviously are some slight differences there, but if you compare this with electric vehicles, which we'll talk about later, if you compare this with electric vehicles, you your car has to stand for a reasonable amount of time or substantial amount of time for it to be recharged. In the case of hydrogen, it's very quick to recharge your hydrogen, the hydrogen in your vehicle. Okay, so it has that. You don't have this range anxiety that I'm going to run out of fuel. If you run out of fuel, or if you're close to running out of fuel, just like with a petrol car or a diesel car, you can go to a station and they'll pump it for you. Of course, with hydrogen, we would need new vehicles. We'd need to change vehicles, and so this puts it also out a little bit. The downside also of hydrogen is that you're stuck in this situation, or like a catch-22 situation, where if you do decide to purchase a hydrogen car, the question is, where do you get hydrogen from? There aren't enough fuel stations. There aren't enough hydrogen fuel stations for you to pump hydrogen into your vehicle. And then when it comes to service station owners, they are put in a position where they don't want to make an investment in implementing hydrogen or having hydrogen at their service stations because there aren't enough cars. So you're stuck in this catch-22 situation where there's not enough cars, so there's not enough stations. There's not enough stations, so there's not enough cars. And this is the downside of hydrogen. This is why hydrogen is taking quite a long time to catch on. And so this leaves us with electric vehicles. And there are a lot of advantages of electric vehicles. You can charge them at home. You can charge them at work. Some malls you can charge them at as well. And in the case of hydrogen, you can't manufacture hydrogen at home, or at least at the moment now it's not commercially viable for you to manufacture hydrogen at home. But you can charge an electric vehicle at home. And again, you can charge an electric vehicle at work. And then also because of our availability of cheap solar and cheap wind resources, the electricity to power up these vehicles would be cheap as well. And also with time, because of the developments in electric vehicles that have happened, the costs of buying an electric vehicle, by the end of the decade, it's been predicted that the price of the vehicle itself will become either the same price or cheaper than normal vehicles. And you could perhaps do a cost comparison now, and you'll find that it could also be at this point cheaper to own. The total, if you look at the total life cycle costing, so buying the vehicle, the maintenance on the vehicle, the fuel for the vehicle, overall that costing at this moment, it could actually be cheaper right now than having a normal vehicle. But the question when it comes to electric vehicles is, especially in the South African context, is, what about load shedding? Do we have enough power? Are you going to be in a situation where you'd like to charge your vehicle, but because of load shedding you can't, and so now you are stranded? The good thing about electric vehicles is that it actually has the potential to solve some of our energy issues. One of the reasons for this is that, firstly, charging electric vehicles, that happens generally during off-peak times. By the time the morning peak happens, your vehicle is probably already charged, and you're either on the road or you're getting ready to get on the road. Your vehicle is not charging at that point. When you get to work, your vehicle could be charging, and again, it's off-peak. By that time, the morning peak has probably died by that time, the morning peak energy usage in the country. And then, in the evening or afternoon peak, your vehicle is probably already charged, and perhaps you're driving home. And by the time you get home, you're probably okay to wait another hour or so for the peak to end before it's necessary for you to charge. And you can charge overnight again during the off-peak times. But aside from that, electric vehicles are essentially these huge battery packs. And if there was an incentive for motorists to make their vehicles available, for motorists to make their electric vehicles available to the network operator, essentially the network operator or the electricity network operator would then have access to this large battery network. Okay? And if there's this large battery network available for the network operator to use, to draw from when extra power is needed, or to dump power when there's excess power available, this flexibility or this large battery network would contribute to the flexibility that's required, or that's really needed when we implement a large amount of renewables on our electricity grid. And if we have this increase in flexibility, this would increase our capability to take on more renewable energy projects. The result would be an increase in renewable energy projects, and this would put us in a position where we can get out of our energy crisis much quicker than if we were to build another coal-fired power station or another nuclear plant. And so in general, I'm very optimistic when it comes to electric vehicles. I think that, over time, or it's a fact that over time, the developments in this space have brought the price of electric vehicles down by a really significant amount. Some studies are saying that it's up to 90% down from, let's say, 2008, around about there. And so it's a very interesting space to keep one's eye on. But until there is developments in this space, until we actually get to the point where it's cheaper, we're still at the mercy of the fuel price. But electric vehicles seem to be the most promising. And then lastly, I'd like to talk about what's happening with this. This is not an energy portion or an energy section, but I'd like to talk about what's happening with a company called Bud Light. So Bud Light is a common beer in America, and something has happened in the past few weeks in the Bud Light story that I think is very interesting, and as business owners we can learn from what's happened. So Bud Light has, they put out this marketing campaign where they partnered with a transgender influencer called Dylan Mulvaney. And after putting out this marketing campaign, sales of Bud Light dropped by about 17% in a very short period of time. And you need to think about that. Think about what this means. Bud Light still has the same taste, still the same price. What has changed? The only thing that has changed is the only thing that has changed is the consumer's perception of the brand. Now, prior to this campaign, you might have asked the consumers of Bud Light, why do you buy Bud Light? And they might tell you, man, it's cheap and it's easy to find. And these might be good reasons, but those can't be the real reasons they buy, because the place where they buy it hasn't changed. Price of the product hasn't changed. If you have to ask them now, why did they stop buying Bud Light? They will probably cite this marketing campaign. And what does this mean? They no longer identify with this brand. Nothing else has changed. The only thing that has changed is the consumer's perception of this brand. And as small business owners, we might find this often very hard to grasp and hard to apply. When people ask us about our product or our service that we're trying to sell, very often it's a knee-jerk or a natural instinct to talk about the benefits and to talk about the features of our product or our service. We say it's this price, it takes this amount of time to deliver, this is the size, this is what the color is, this is how it feels. And these are perhaps good reasons, but these are not the real reasons people buy products or services. If we want to do sales, if we want to be effective, or if we want to improve our sales, we need to understand what is important to the consumer or the intended person that our product would be good for. And we need to understand what's important to them at a deeply emotional level. And then we need to show how our product or service meets that emotional desire. So for example, you might be selling shoes, and you could talk about how your shoes are strong and durable and comfortable, and these might be legitimate things. Okay? But in order for you to sell your product, you need to go deeper than that. You need to present your shoes as being something that gives confidence, and confidence might lead to leadership or make somebody a better leader, and their leadership capability might then lead to a whole bunch of accolades. You could be selling a UPS, uninterrupted power supply, and you could talk about how it lasts for 4 hours and it's this size, it's this small, it costs this amount. But what you really want to talk about is man, this UPS, it's going to keep the dinner party going. And if it keeps the dinner party going, you can build strong relationships with the friends that came out of town to visit. So we need to think about selling things or meeting the desires that the customer have, motivating them to buy through the method that they buy. And large companies understand this. Large companies understand that they need to speak to their customers' emotional desires, and they need to speak to what's important to their customers. And this is why they put so many small businesses out of business. So, there's a statement that I heard, or a phrase that I heard a while back. It goes like this. It says, sell the sizzle, not the steak. And the sooner we learn this, the sooner you learn this as a small business owner or as a business owner, the sooner you'll be successful in business. The sooner you learn this as a business owner, the sooner you'll be successful in business. That's all for tonight, or that's all for today. I'll see you next time.